Hi guys, we're back with Battles of the American Civil War. Here I'm doing Battle 10, which is Battle of Bull's Bluff from the 21st of October 1861, and I'm playing as the Union this time. Remember, you can play all these battles from both sides. So the battle before this was indeed the Battle of Bull's Bluff, but from the Confederate side the map is sort of rotated 180, of course, and the AI is different for each map. But I'm playing as the Union here, and the reason I'm doing this one really is just because it's got lots of high ground on it, and it gives us a chance just to talk about some of the line of sight rules, hopefully, as we go through. So that's the key aim today. I'm not really going to talk about any of the other rules, because I've already done a couple of playthrough videos, including an instructional playthrough, and then another one about the AI more generally. So have a look at those if that's what you're looking for. This one is either just for fun or, as I say, to work out some of those line of sight rules where necessary. So let's crack on. I've set up, as you can see here, I chose to have my infantry on the flanks this time, hoping to kind of sneak down here, because the objective is to have any infantry unit in the top hex of any area. So basically I've got to get one of my infantry units to the top row of hexes in any area. At any time, so it doesn't have to be at the end of the battle, just at any point in the battle, without it being in close combat. So just need to get an infantry unit to the top hex without an enemy unit being in the same hex, and that'll instantly result in a win for me. They have come out like this. So the general is pretty central, and they've got 5 infantry units. So fairly evenly matched game. Forces. A couple of rivers on the map. You can see here I'm starting in a river, so I'll want to get out of that pretty quickly, although this hex is bridged, I think. Yeah, so that's okay, but I need to get out. One of the key elements will be sort of getting control of the bluff itself, so sort of getting up onto there first, and then that gives line of sight across to here at least. So as their forces come on, I can hopefully get the first shot in, but we'll see how that works out. I also want to get, as I say, really want to get infantry units down the side if I can. We'll see how that goes. So I'm going to just play it, focusing mainly on line of sight as and when that arises. So as ever, I go first. I think I'll re-roll the artillery and probably leave it at that. So I'll move them up onto the bluff, into the trees there, a bit of defence. I'll move that guy forward and that unit up to there. So take a fairly aggressive stance. Got to be a bit careful, because they have got a lot of powerful infantry here, so I don't want to be getting everyone mowed down before I get a chance to get into the battle. Let's see what happens as they get. 136. So the infantry is over here. The instructions look quite long, but there's one sort of quite meaty instruction here, which only applies if I've ever got an infantry unit one step away from victory. So if I ever get an infantry unit onto this line of hexes, or this row of hexes, then that instruction kicks in. Until that happens, we don't need to worry too much about what it says. So as ever, he's going to try and close combat. If not, move into close combat. He can't do that. He can't attack, so he will roll. There's quite a lot of options here. There's 4 different options that can happen, so quite a lot of unknown for me. That one says, if not on higher ground hex, which is not, and if the hex directly below is higher ground, which it isn't, then move straight down. So it won't move, then it will try to attack again, but it can't do that because I'm out of range, so that's fine. General can't close combat, and he can't get adjacent to more than he is now, so he'll stay there. And this unit over here is also going to roll a die because he can't attack. Gets a 4. It says move down in accordance with table 1, so to get an enemy in range and line of sight. Okay, so this is the first instance of line of sight, which is quite useful, I think. So he's got to move down, so he can only move to there or there. And he's down the map, remember, towards me from my perspective. So the first tie break over here says move to the hex with an enemy in range and line of sight. If he moves there, he has line of sight to this unit, because remember you can see through trees, although they give a penalty for firing, he can see this unit. It's in range and it's not in close combat, so that satisfies the tiebreaker. Also, from there, he can see this unit, because remember, when you're firing hex to hex in that way, line of sight runs right down the middle of those two hexes, and you always take the one which is more favourable to the attacker. So this hex would block line of sight, this higher ground hex, whereas the trees don't. So it will fire through the trees. So it has line of sight to this one as well, and that is in range as well. So doubly satisfied by that. This hex, on the other hand, doesn't have line of sight. This one's not even in range, so we don't have to worry about him. But this unit here is not in line of sight of the Confederate unit. And the reason for that is what is known as the plateau effect. I'm sure if anyone who's played hex encounter games before, which I know is going to be a lot of you, will understand that straight away and appreciate what's going on here. But these two hexes here are both the same level. They're both level. In fact, all the hexes on this map are level 1 higher ground. So there, it's all the same. It's like a plateau. He's looking across this plateau. If he was here, he's deemed to see over the edge and down into this hex, or down into this hex, and so on. But because he's here, he's got to look across over this hex and then down into the woods. And he can't do that because of what's known as the plateau effect. So you sort of get that effect where he's over here and he's looking across the plateau and he can't see the enemy unit down here. Okay, so that's known as the plateau effect. Explained in the rules, I call it the plateau effect in there. There are profile diagrams to help explain that. It's fairly straightforward. So if he goes there, he doesn't have range or line of sight to anybody. So he will move there under the first tie break. Remember, as soon as you satisfy a tie break, as soon as a tiebreaker satisfies the tie and breaks the tie, then you don't have to look any further down here. You know, if you think about what's best for the AI, just do what it says. So he moves down here into this river hex. And then, of course, he's going to fire, as it says on the instruction there. So he will then attack the nearest possible unit. As I said, there's two units here which are both in range and line of sight. So you can see this one here. If there was another high ground hex there, obviously that would be blocked for the same reason as it was here. There's a plateau effect. So sorry, I should have mentioned that the other way around. I'm saying he can't see him, but he can't see him either. The line of sight is always reciprocal in this game, so if one can't see the other, so he can't see him for the same reason. He can see up onto here, but he can't see him because he's further back along the cliff edge, or whatever. It's not a cliff, but the hill edge. So he can see him. So we look in here for the initial tie break on unit type. He prefers to attack an infantry unit. They're both infantry. So we go to table 2 down here, and he's going to attack the one that results in the most attack dice, remember. So he's going to attack with basic 4 dice. But he's going to lose 1 for moving. He loses 1 for being in a river. If he attacks him, he's going through trees, because remember we're deeming it to go through this side, and then into trees, so he'd lose those 2 as well. Whereas he's just through trees, so he just gets the 1 die. Probably explain that more than I needed to, really, but anyway, 1 dice, I'm going to do that every time, and he misses, so that's fine. And that's the end of the AI turn. Let's go to turn 2, my turn. I've got a 1 over there again, which I think I'm going to keep. That could be quite useful. I'm going to keep the 6 as well, and the 5. In fact, I'm going to go with the same. I think I'm going to go with the same, actually. I could get an early rush in here, actually. It would be great to get an early sort of rush victory, wouldn't it? I'm going to move him up there, and then I'm going to have him fire at that unit. So 4 minus 1 for moving, 3 dice on him. That's just the 1 hit, unfortunately, so he's down to 3 strength. Over this side, I think I'm just going to, with him, I'm going to attack him. He has got line of sight, so he's deemed to go through. That gives the plateau effects. We can't see him that side, but that side, you take the best, you can see through there. So in terms of line of sight, I can see him. So I've got 4 basic, 1 for being on higher ground than him. It didn't move, so I don't have to take that away. but I'm shooting through these trees here. Okay, trees, remember, come up to the same height as the first level higher ground. So to shoot down to that hex, you would have to be shooting down at least through the tree tops to get to him. So he will lose 1 die for that. That's a little better. There's a couple of misses there, but there are a couple of hits, and therefore that unit is reduced to 2 strength. And then finally this unit here, I'm tempted, I think, to move him first to there, and then he's going to attack with a base 4 plus 1 because he's with the range is 1, of course, minus 1 because he did move. So he rolls and he gets 2 hits and a retreat, but the 2 hits will eliminate the unit, so we don't need to retreat. So I'm feeling pretty good over here. Let's see what they can do in defense. So they get 1 and 5. 6 is no good to them, so re-roll that, of course. And again, so we've already got 1 in there, and they get a 6, which is good for me. So this will be interesting. So this infantry over here can't close combat. No one's on the second hex down yet. So he will now attack. So he's rolling 3 basic and minus 1 because I'm in the trees. So just the 2 dice, and that is a 4 and a 5, unfortunately. So that reduces me with a hit to 3, and then I retreat because of the 4. And over on this side, he can't close combat, he can't attack, so he will roll a die. And on a 3, it says, if positioned on a top hex, which he is, move straight down. So he's going to move straight down there. Fortunately for me, he's in a river hex. And then it says attack the nearest, but he's in trees as well, of course. Attack the nearest possible. So he will attack this, and again, for the same reasons discussed before, he can't see my unit here because of the plateau effect again. You can see up onto this one, but not further. If I was on a level 2 high ground, then he would be able to see me because he can see, sort of, he's looking up a hill then effectively, aren't you? So it's like a straight hill going up, so you can see over this one onto the higher ground, but because I'm on the same higher ground as this hex, it creates this plateau. You can't see this one, but you can see this one. Again, we take the most favourable trip or journey or pathway through these 2 hexes, which is going to be this side, because that would block line of sight, of course, because these are both on lower ground. So he gets a basic 4. He moved, so he loses 1. He's in a river, so he loses 1. And I'm in trees, so he loses another 1. So again, it's just a 1 die, and that's a 5. Unfortunately, he does get a hit, which is a bit of bad luck for me, but there we are. So we'll put that in there, and he reduces to a 3 strength, and we move to turn 3. Let's go with me again. I've got a 2 and a 4. Now I think I might push my general up here to give them some support. Remember, generals will stop them retreating if he's adjacent. It'll also give them an extra die when attacking, which is good. I think it's probably time to do that. I might keep the 2 as well to support him. I'm not in a rush to go. I don't have to rush to get there. I know I tried to do that at the start, but I don't need to. I'm going to re-roll the 4 for a second time because my general's still alive, and that's a 6. So yeah, I'm going to push him up to there. Simple as that. I'm going to move my general over there, and we can move 1 or 2 hexes. He's a cavalry unit, so I'll put him in support behind them. And then for in this area here, just a reminder, the general can't now activate again because he's already activated. He just happened to move into here, so this is now applies only to this infantry. I'm going to have him attack this unit here. Still got line of sight, of course, through this hex. Basic 3 plus 1 because he's next to his general. Minus 1 because this guy is in trees. So 3 dice. And that's 2 misses and a hit. So he is reduced to an infantry 3 unit. Okay, their turn again. So they've got 1 area 4, they'll re-roll the 6. They get a 4, so they'll re-roll that because the general's still alive. They get another 4. So again, working out pretty well for me. They're getting slightly unlucky on those things. So this infantry unit over here can't close combat. No one's on the second next down yet. He can't attack the near. There's no one to attack, so he'll roll. He gets a 6, and that says if not on a higher ground hex, which he's not, and if the hex directly below is a higher ground hex, then move straight down. Can't do that, and he can't attack. He won't do that rather because it's not higher ground, so he won't move. That instruction is trying to get the AI to step onto the bluff, of course, take advantage of being on the higher ground. At the moment, they don't seem to want to do that, which is good for me. And finally then in column 4, again, he can't attack. If I can't see anyone, he's hidden behind the edge there. He gets a 3. If positioned on the top hex, move straight down. So he does come onto the higher ground. And then attack the nearest possible. Okay, he can't see him, again, because of the plateau effect. So he's straight along this high ground, and then his view just goes straight across the top of these trees and beyond. You can't see any low ground hexes beyond that because of this plateau effect. It's too far back from the edge to see. But you can see him, of course. You can see this unit here. So he'll attack with 4, basic 4 dice. We'll deduct 1 there because he moved, and we'll deduct another 1 because I'm in trees up here. So he'll get 2 dice. And that gives 2 retreats, actually. So I'm going to step back off the bluff. Or more likely run back off the bluff, and then I will reduce by 1 because I cannot retreat any. Oh, hang on, no I won't. Get it right, Mike. In fact, those retreats of course will have no effect here, will they? Would have been a retreat 1 and then lose a strength, obviously, because I can't retreat again. No retreats because I'm adjacent to my general, so that's good news. That's why I put him there, of course. So that's their turn, and we move to turn 4. Okay, reasonably happy with progress so far. Let's go again. So this time I've got a 2, a 4 and a 5. I think I'll probably keep the 5 and the 2. Let's re-roll. I'd like to get my artillery up onto there, actually. That's a 2, no good. I'll re-roll that. That's another 2. Okay, so I've not had quite so much luck this time. So let's see what we can do. I think this unit will move. Oh, will it? Let's do this first. This unit here is going to fire at that unit, so that will be 4 basic attack dice for his strength, plus 1 because I'm next to the general, and I am on higher ground, of course, but the enemy is also on higher ground, so I'm not on higher ground than my target. It says here any unit firing from higher ground than its target. Well, I'm not on higher ground, so obviously I don't get that bonus, but I do get 5 dice, which is good. I didn't move, so there's no deductions for that. And let's see what happens there. Oh, that's pretty good. So I've got 2 misses and 3 hits. So I've more or less wiped out that entire infantry unit, which is really weakening their defense over there. They could do with their general moving, but he doesn't seem to want to either, so that's good. So this time I'm going to move him up into those, going to move this unit up into the trees. I can't see this unit. Remember, again, that plateau effect takes line of sight straight across the top of him. But I can see that unit, so I will fire. It's 4 dice. I deduct 1 for moving. Again, I'm not on higher ground than him, on the same level. I've no general, so basic 3 dice. And again, that's pretty good. It's enough, I think. I know it's not quite enough. Oh, it is, of course it's enough. Got a hit, so that takes that unit out of the game. And they're looking very weak now on their left flank. So let's see if they can recover. Okay, well, certainly looking to activate that left flank. He obviously knows what's going on. I mean, only the 5 is useful though, so put that there. Reroll the other 2. Okay, so the general is probably going to activate this turn. Possibly, anyway. And he'll reroll the 5. and get a 3. So again, not too much going on. He's struggling a little bit here. General will try to close combat. He can't do that. And then he'll try to move to get adjacent to more than he is now. Actually, he can't do that either, can he? So he won't move. If that unit had still been there, of course, he would have moved up to support those two, but he won't move to support this unit because he's already supporting that unit. So he'll stay where he is. Over here, this infantry unit can fire at, or at least can try to fire at this unit, so we'll do that. Again, still can't see this one. It's a basic 3 for him. He loses 1 for being in the river, and he loses 1 because I'm in trees, so he will fire, he will attack, because he's still got 1 die left to roll, so he'll roll that. And that's a 5, which is a hit. So that, again, reduces my infantry down to 2. We move to turn 5. I'm still feeling alright about this, I think. Still feeling alright. I still think I really need 5s and 6s now to get those areas activated. Well, that's a 6. That 2 is also tempting, but I think I'm going to re-roll it because I would like a 5. I think it's going to be a real chance, and I'm going to do the same again. I'm going to re-roll both again. Leave it in the lap of the gods. Oh dear. Should never do that with dice, should you? Look at that. Can't use those. Anyway, at least I've got this. So I think what I will do is push up, and I'm going to move him. Am I going to do that? What would he get? He get 2, -1 for moving, -1 for the river, -1 for doing. There's no point. Let's push him there. It's a shame I can't get my. If I could have got my general here, say, it would have still been adjacent, but I can't do that. I could have moved my general first and then him. Let's move him there. And then he's going to attack that guy down there. You can see over the edge now, of course. So he gets 2 basic attack die. He gets +1 for being on higher ground. But he loses 1 for moving. And he loses 1 because the target's in those trees, of course. So just 1 die. And that's a miss, which is a shame. I'm reluctant to push my general here, although it's tempting. I'm reluctant to. If he attacks... Mind you, always attack the nearest, I think. Yeah, he will, so maybe that's okay. Yeah, let's do that. I'll move the general there. Okay, that's me. See what he does. Oops, I'll re-roll that one because it's jumped out the main bit. So he gets 1 and 2. 6 is no use. The 1's no use. He gets a 4, that's no use, there's nobody there. So he didn't roll a 5, fortunately. So let's do the first infantry. He can't attack, can't CC rather, he can't attack either. So he will roll, he gets a 1. If on an unbridged river hex, he's not, then move straight down and then try and attack. He can't attack, we already know that. This unit here, he can't attack either because again we got that plateau effect. He can see up into this hex but not to this one because it falls away at the back, you know, it's like the plateau is out of sight. So he will roll a die. He gets a 1 as well. If on an unbridged river hex, well, he's not. So he will ignore that instruction as well, and he can't fire at anyone. So not a particularly productive turn for them. And here I go. Turn 6. I can see victory here. If I get a victory down here, it's going to be one of the easiest victories I've had on this map. So that's what I've rolled initially. Do I need all those? I mean, it's pretty perfect, isn't it? I think I'm going to do that because I've got a feeling I want to do that. So here, I'm going to move him up because I feel I can do some real damage to his strongest remaining unit. I'm going to move him there. He's got 4 basic attack die. +1 because he's on higher ground than the target. He'll lose 1 for moving, and he'll lose another 1 because the target is in a trees hex. Even though I'm on higher ground, I'm still shooting down into that trees hex, of course. So 3 die. He won't retreat, so that's not quite as good as I hoped. There misses, and that is a hit. So he'll get 3. Sorry, he'll reduce to 3 strength. Over here, I think for now I'll just fire with the first infantry. I'll do area 5 first. I'm going to fire with this infantry guy. So he gets 2, basic 2, plus 1 for being on higher ground than in the target, plus 1 for having the general adjacent to him, minus 1 because he is in trees. Still gives me a good 3 dice, and that's excellent. That's 2 hits. And he doesn't retreat, which I don't really mind, because it keeps him more in range, potentially. Having said that, so I'm going to move him. I'm going to do something with him next. He could move there. I probably will move him there actually, but he can't shoot at him because he's on a high ground hex. Remember, line of sight in this case runs right down the middle of these 2 hexes, but they are both higher ground hexes. So whichever I take, it's going to give me the plateau effect to this unit. I can't see him, so I can't fire. Does give me a bit of protection against any units moving across. I'm really, really tempted to charge my general into there. It'll almost certainly destroy that unit. But if their general then activates, he's probably going to do the same. And actually, no, he would go for these. But that depends on other things. He may have already been in close combat. That's a tricky one, that. If I leave him and he activates, he's going to charge onto this hill and do some damage to this guy. I really want to protect my infantry, don't I? I think I'll do that. Because a couple of things need to happen over there for the general too. So my general charges into there. He gets 1 attack die, basic. But because he's a cavalry unit and because he's charged in or moved into close combat, he gets 3 bonus dice. So that, as I say, should be. And remember, when you're in close combat, you ignore terrain, so ignore all the rivers and trees and higher ground and that. We're on the same hex, so we're both getting the same advantage. And would you believe it? Oh, actually, hang on, I rolled 1, 1, 2, 3. I must always remember that cavalry have different results, don't they? So cavalry, the 3 is a retreat. The 1s and 2s are still misses, but the 3 is actually a retreat. So it does at least push him back to there, but it's not the result I was hoping for at all, obviously. So they get to go now, and they'll be looking for 3s and 5s here. 2s, 3s and 5s, particularly 3s and 5s. Well, they got a 3, so that's the general activated. They've got a 2 as well. The 6 is no use, so they'll re-roll that. That's a 4, which is no use, there's no one there, so they'll re-roll that. That's a 1, which is okay for me. Leaves things open on this side still. Let's see what happens. And I'm feeling for my general now. I think what I didn't want to happen has happened, hasn't it? But we'll see. So this infantry guy here can't close combat. This box only applies if there is an enemy infantry unit in a second hex down. So, oh, there is here. Crikey, did I forget that? I think I did, didn't I? No, because I've only just... No, because I've only just moved him there in my last turn. Yes, okay, so, right, this instruction box applies if there is at least 1 enemy infantry unit here, which is in a second hex down. So he's in the second hex down of area 2 here, and 1, 2 is in the second hex down. If there is not, continue to the next instruction. If there is, then select the nearest such infantry unit. Well, that's this one, because it's the only one that exists. And then, if possible, move nearer to that unit. Well, he can move nearer to it. Remember, that means as the crow flies, reducing the number of hexes to get to it. I'm 2 hexes away. He's 2 hexes away. He can move there to get 1 hex away, so he has moved nearer to it. And it says whether it moved or not, then try to attack that infantry unit. So we'll always go for that unit that's being the most dangerous. So he will attack with 3 dice, basic. He loses 1 for moving, and he loses 1 because I am nestled in these trees here. So 1 die only, and he misses. Come to area 2. I think the first instruction is going to apply. It says close combat any unit on the same hex. If you can't do that, or if not, move into and close combat a unit on an adjacent hex. So he will move, he'll charge into there and enter into close combat. So he gets 3 basic attack die, and as an infantry unit, he gets 2 for moving into when you initially charge into the close combat. So he's got 5 dice, unfortunately. Again, the trees don't affect this, nor does the higher ground or anything. So with a slight hold of breath, well, that's on its edge clearly, so I always re-roll those. That's my sort of newish rule. And whatever it does to the dice that have already been rolled is just part of the initial roll kind of thing. Anyway, I don't think it really changed much. He got 2 hits and a retreat. So I am reduced to a infantry 2 unit, and then I have to retreat 1 hex because I'm not adjacent to my general, so that's what I do. And finally, his general wants to close combat a unit on the same hex. There isn't one. If not, move into and close combat the nearest possible unit. Well, there is only 1 unit he can reach with his 2 moves, and that's the general, unfortunately. So it has happened, which is a little bit unlucky, but there we are. So he gallops into close combat with my general. He has 1 basic die, but again, he gets, just like my general did, as a cavalry unit, charging into close combat initially, you get 3 bonus, so he's got 4. I'm guessing he won't be as unlucky as I was with my general. He's not. So he gets 2 hits, and 1 hit is enough, of course, to kill my general, which is a big miss. And suddenly this side is looking a little bit weaker for me. Although, you know, I've got a good chance of getting rid of the general. Let's see what happens. When we move to turn 7. So I've got a 1 and a 3. It's really a bit late for my artillery. I wanted to get them up on this hill earlier in case they came onto the hill, but they never really did. Which is a bit unusual in this particular battle. Often the defending team wants to get on that edge of that hill if possible, but they didn't. So my artillery is kind of out of things. In a way, it'd be good to take some strength off of this unit because he's the most likely to get across there if necessary, you know, when I get up there. So he could be useful, but it's almost essential that some of these go to. I think I need to re-roll at least once. So I'm going for 4s and 5s here. Oh, in fact, I only get 1 re-roll, don't I? Just remembered my general has been killed. So that's it. So I've got the same roll again, basically, wasn't it, more or less? Crikey. So just this 1 infantry, and that, you know, shows you the consequences of losing a general. Maybe I shouldn't have taken that risk. I probably could have won without it. He might as well move in there and be some use. So he moves there. He would attack with 3 dice, but he moved and he's in trees. So that's 2 gone. So just the 1 die at him on the hill. That is a hit at least. So that takes out a bit of his reserve power. Oh dear, this has turned right around this battle, hasn't it? I thought I was in a strong position. Now he's got a 5 there, of course, just what he needs. He'll re-roll those. He gets a 2. Which is also good for him, I think, and he'll re-roll because he's got his general, unlike me. That doesn't help. This infantry unit here then will want to move into and close combat a unit on adjacent hex. Well, he's got a choice of 2 here. So he'll prefer the infantry unit, well, they're both infantry. Then he'll prefer the one that's furthest up the map. So we'll actually go into there, because that unit is sort of half a hex furthest up, remember, always from the player's perspective. So he goes into there. He's got 2 basic dice and 2 bonus dice because he has moved into close combat as an infantry unit. So he gets a hit and 1 retreat result. That's a miss for infantry. So 1 hit reduces me to 2. And the 4 causes me to retreat back. So that's him done. And then over here, front to back, always remember, so the general first. Again, he's going to CC if on the same hex. He's not in that anymore, but he can move into and CC the nearest possible. So he's going to charge into there now. So again, it's 1 plus 3 bonus. It's just sort of momentum of moving in and attacking really does help. So he gets 4 dice, and that's 3 hits, and he eliminates that. Blimey. Who's this general? Evans. Blimey. General Evans. Well played. Guy behind can't attack or anything. I have no units on the second, no infantry on the second hex down, so he'll roll a die with a 2. If positioned on the top hex, move straight down. So he'll go down to this river hex. And then try to attack the nearest, but he can't see me again because of that plateau effect. It's turn 8. It's starting to look dire, isn't it? I've only got 3 turns left, so I've got to. I really could do with activating 2 and 4 and just moving. Just charging for it, really, and seeing what happens. Oh, that's nice. Got the 2 and the 4. 6 is no use. I'll re-roll that, as I'm always entitled to, remember, and pour that on there. No more re-rolls, so I haven't got my general. I think what I'll do now, I might as well shove that artillery unit on there. Could be some use attacking anyone who comes, you know, the general, for example, or whatever. See what happens. But I might as well shift him up. Ideally, I would want to go in there and close combat that general. I could do actually, because I could still make it to the top, couldn't I, on the last 2 turns, but it means I've got to activate both times. I think I need to go there. It's just a bit manic now. So he's going to move there and then fire back at the general. So that would be 4 basic dice, -1 for moving. So it's still 3. Just need a 5 or 6. Oh, would you believe that? 3 misses. Retreats are no use anyway. Generals, of course, never retreat, but wow. And this guy do the same, this infantry unit, so he's going to move there. And then he's going to fire with a basic 2 dice. +1 because he's on higher ground. -1 because he moved. And he's going to fire at this infantry 3 at the front here because he's not in trees, gives me more dice. Oh, I missed again. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Terrible. So he takes his turn 8. He's looking for 1s and 5s only. So you never know, he may not get to activate here. He's got a 1. Really don't need him to get a 5. Oh, he's not. He's going to re-roll again one last time for the general. Yes, he's failed to activate. That's good news. General must be frozen. It's General Evans, probably a bit tired after all that charging and attacking. So down here, they've got 2 units though. So the front unit here is going to close combat a unit on the same hex. Can't do that. If not, move into and close combat a unit on an adjacent hex. He's got a choice of 2, preferring infantry, but they're both infantry, going for furthest up. So he will go for this unit here. So he close combats with them. He gets 2 basic +2 for charging in as an infantry unit. That's not good. That's hit and 2 retreats. Oh dear. That's, I think, brought to an end my left-hand attack. He reduces to 1 and retreats twice. So he's not going to be able to make that anymore. Can't believe this AI. I had it in the bag. I'm sure it was that general move over there when I risked my general. If I hadn't done that, I'm convinced I'd be okay over there. Silly move. Sorry, then he gets to activate this one, of course. And I remember he's activating area 1, so he's moved into there and done some close combat. He's now going to activate. There is an infantry unit on the second hex, so he's going to follow this rather long-winded instruction in here, of course, which is to select the nearest such infantry unit. Well, there's only this one, so it'll be that one. And then, if possible, move nearer to it. He can move nearer to it, but those are the only 2 hexes that would take him nearer to this guy. So he'll have to move there. And then it says, then try to attack that infantry. We can't do that. It says, if it has not moved or attacked by this point, then go on to the next instruction box. But it has moved. If it did move but could not attack the target infantry, which was that one, then attack the nearest possible. We can't do that because there are no other infantry, units in range. And then it just says, if it's still not moved or attacked, go on to the next instruction. Well, it has moved. So that's the end of its turn. That's the end of the AI turn. We move on to turn 9. That's good for me, isn't it? Really good. If the general had activated, he probably would have tied me up in close combat for a turn, which would have been fatal potentially. If I get a 4, I'm there, aren't I? Oh, 3 3s. How frustrating. Now, bearing in mind I have got another turn. I've only got one more re-roll. I could throw all 3 again, hoping for a 4, and I've probably got just under a 50% chance of getting a 4, which would win me the game. Or do I just re-roll 2 of them on the basis that doesn't, it still gives me a sort of 1 in 3 chance of getting it. Plus, I've got another turn to go out, but that would allow me to activate my artillery, which could have a pop at the general, although only 6s are hits with artillery. All these retreats don't affect generals. Artillery is scary for infantry, young and inexperienced infantry, but not for generals. Or it could fire at this infantry. I don't know. Or do I just go for it? I'll just go for it. I need a 4. Oh, that's very unlucky, but I have got 2, 3, 5. The 5's no use to me. I have no units over there. So I got my artillery back anyway. I'm going to do this infantry first. That's going to move up to there and then try and attack that. He gets 1 basic die and 1 because he's range 1 now. However, he loses 1 for moving, and he loses 1 because he's in the tree, so he actually doesn't get to attack at all. But he's still going to do that. This artillery is going to fire at the general. 2 basic dice. Yeah, unfortunately, there's no adjacent general. I'm not on higher ground. I can't get any other dice. So just the 2, and I need a 6. 6 would be lovely at this point. Oh, it's just a retreat result. Generals don't retreat. That's that. Been a bit unlucky here, haven't I, last few turns? It's their turn. Don't want to see a 5. Oh, there's 2 of them. Duplicate and the 1 and no use to it. I'll re-roll those. It gets the 2 that it needs. And it could re-roll the 5. There's no point because it's already activated all its units. Oh, dear, oh dear. So this unit here will close combat on the same hex, if not move into and close combat on adjacent hex, so he will do that. He'll go into there, attack with 2 basic plus 2 for charging in, remember. That's a hit, so he's gone. This infantry here can't see my infantry unit because of the plateau effect, so he will, oh hang on, no he won't, he'll do this, won't he? Blah 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 blah. So he's going to select this unit because it's on a 2nd hex down, of course, and then he will, if possible, move nearer to it. The only way of getting nearer to it is to move here. This hex and this hex don't get it nearer. It would still be 2 hexes away, so it wouldn't move to those. But fortunately for it, and not me, it can move, and it will move there. And then it will try to attack that unit, which it can. So it will attack with a basic 3, -1 for moving. So it gets 2 dice on me. And that is actually the worst result. I'd rather have been hit, because having a retreat result means I can no longer reach the end. I cannot reach the top hex, and that has left me feeling very defeated. Yeah, I'll always regret that one. I should have had that. Anyway, there it goes. So hopefully that helps a little bit with some of the line of sight and high ground issues. Cheers.